hopefully you can see my screen. So thank you everybody for being here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where in the world you are joining us from today. And welcome to our second online information session, where we're hoping to take a bit of a deeper dive into Agentic AI and try, with the help of our speakers and also the discussion today, to answer the question, what is Agentic AI, if that's possible? So this session is actually part of the RDA's global Agentic AI initiative, which we started running at the end of last year. We had a session on Monday as part of the RDA's virtual 26th plenary. And then we have this repeat session today. Although this is run in conjunction with the virtual plenary, these sessions are open for anybody interested to attend. They don't have to be registered. So to introduce myself, my name's Connie Clare, and I'm the RDA's Global Community Development Manager, and I'll put, or my colleague Trish will put my email address in the chat. I'd also just like to introduce and thank Trish for being here. She's my counterpart in the Oceania and Asia region, and she's helping with the Zoom logistics. So thanks, Trish, for all your help today. Just a bit of housekeeping before we begin the session. This session is being recorded and the presentations will be published on the RDA web platform. Please do keep yourselves muted if you're not speaking, just to minimise any background noise. We do like to see your faces in the community, so if you're willing to have your camera on, please do show us. If not, that's totally fine. I would be having my camera off. Usually it's 5 a.m. for me, but I have to show you my face this morning. So this is an RDA organised event, so we will be adhering to the RDA's Code of Conduct. So please can I just remind you to listen openly and respect all of the different perspectives shared today. We'll be hearing from 2 international speakers, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Please do write any questions that you have for our speakers or generally in the chat, and Trish and I will do our best to go through those before the end of the session. If you have any questions or comments about the things I'm going to present, about the work that we're doing on AI, you're also welcome to contact our Secretary General, Hilary Hanaho, and her email address is also going to be posted in the chat too. So I'll start by giving a bit of background on the global community consultation that we ran in November on Agentic AI in research. Then I'll hand over to our first speaker, Mukesh, who will talk about the Gusto Data Vault, which is a health data platform. And then Amir will talk about Research Link AI. And then we'll have time at the end for this question and answer where we can hopefully discuss what is Agentic AI. So for those that might not be aware of the RDA, welcome to RDA. We are an international member-based organisation that comprises more than 16,500 members now from more than 150 countries around the world. And we share this common vision and mission that researchers and innovators openly share and reuse data across boundaries, so across technologies, disciplines and countries to address the grand challenges of society. And our mission is that the community comes together to build the social and technical bridges that enable open sharing and reuse of data. And importantly, at the heart of everything we do at the RDA are our 6 guiding principles of openness, consensus, inclusivity, harmonization. We are community driven and non-profit and technology neutral. And this means that all of the work that is produced by the community is openly available for adoption and reuse by anyone, anywhere in the world. And if you're not yet a member of the RDA, I'd just like to let you know that it's open to anybody interested and it's free to join. So please do consider joining us. So the work that the RDA started within the Secretariat more formally on artificial intelligence started almost 2 years ago now. We've run a series of different projects and initiatives. So we have a dedicated web page. You can have a look at those past and future events and all of the various slides, recordings, reports and white papers that have been produced. We also have, importantly, a section within that page where we have our community experts. So these are the individuals who have contributed to some of these initiatives, such as Mukesh and Amir, who's with us today. You'll also be able to read more about the future work and how to get involved in the next steps, and also see some relevant RDA groups on that page that you might be interested in joining. So the work that we started on Agentic AI in support of science and research was in collaboration or is in collaboration with Microsoft, one of our organizational members, since we have a mutual interest in the topic. And this started in November 2025. So we're hearing more about AI agents or agentic AI. It's becoming more commonplace and a bit of a buzzword. And we understand that AI agents can autonomously assist with various tasks throughout the research lifecycle, from data analysis through to data publication and research evaluation and impact. It could hopefully speed up research, reduce costs, and provide access to tools that might not otherwise be available. We wanted to hear more about the community perspectives on Agentic AI, so we opened a survey and ran online information sessions to find out how the research community is currently using Agentic AI, if they are, what are the needs or challenges that might exist, and where could, or probably more importantly, how could Agentic AI have the greatest impact throughout the research lifecycle. So the perspectives of the community were drafted in an open report, which my colleague Trish will also share the link so you can have a look. And hopefully from next month, we want to start working with the community on an open technology agnostic blueprint for a priority AI agent. And I'll come back to that towards the end. So here just shows the report, which is published on the platform and on Zenodo. And this really compiles all of the different perspectives from the survey respondents on global community priorities for agentic AI throughout the research lifecycle. So what is agentic AI? And that is, of course, the title of this particular session today, and something that we can discuss in more detail. One thing I'd like to note is that some of you experts in the audience will have different notions or perceptions and definitions and understandings of what AI agents or agentic AI is. For the purpose of the consultation, we settled on this definition that agentic AI refers to artificial intelligence systems that possess autonomy, goal-directed reasoning, and the ability to act independently with minimal human oversight. So the idea that there can be a series of tasks within a particular pipeline that are executed without human intervention. And this is in contrast to traditional models that we might be familiar with that typically respond directly to prompts. And our speakers might have different ideas and will share their thoughts on that today. So what did we do in the consultation? As I mentioned, we had these online information sessions and a survey where we received 83 responses from 25 countries. The largest group of respondents were researchers and scientists. More than 90% of respondents had used artificial intelligence or machine learning tools before, but more than half had not heard of or used agentic AI systems specifically. And what we asked in the survey was we actually proposed 11 agentic AI tools. So these are conceptual or proposed tools that are not yet under development by ourselves or Microsoft. But these tools came from a previous engagement that Microsoft ran with more than 50 universities within the UK. What we did was we proposed these tools to the RDA community with a brief description of the features and functionalities, things that they might be able to do. And then we asked the respondents to score them based on their usefulness. So whether they're very useful, not useful at all, or whether they're unsure. And you can see the ranking on the right-hand side from 1 to 11. So this is a weighted scoring. And you can see the top 3 tools were the literature librarian, data director, and the funding finder. And the tools that were least prioritized were the collaboration catalyst, publication preparer, and the ethics reviewer. You might have ideas for why this is the case. So this is a busy slide and it's shown in the report. So I'll urge you to go and have a look in more detail, but it's just to show you the research lifecycle in the center from the generation of hypotheses through to reporting on output and impact. And you can see the top priority tool, the literature librarian, could possibly help with natural language literature searching, integration with library contracts or subscriptions to access articles, open access and behind paywalls. In second place, the data director could help with automatically creating metadata to ensure compliance with the FAIR or FAIR squared principles for AI specifically, could assign DOIs to datasets or provide guidance on where data could be published or archived to be compliant. And then third was the funding finder, which could possibly scan scattered or niche databases to match calls with ideas, provide templates for applications, and also provide or suggest improvements based on previous successful applications from a university. So again, I'm going to come back to the high level question, what is Agentic AI and why are we running these information sessions following the consultation? Well, we appreciate that there is some definitional instability. It's not quite clear what Agentic AI really means. There isn't like one single definition. There was unfamiliarity among respondents about what it is. The majority were unsure or had not used Agentic AI before. When we asked them to score the usefulness of tools, a large majority actually selected unsure, possibly because they have insufficient knowledge or experience of using Agentic AI. There was, over multiple different tools, confusion between agents and chatbots and LLMs, the Claudes, the ChatGPTs that we're using today, and also the question as to whether Agentic AI is necessary for certain tasks and activities, such as, for example, with the funding finder, respondents questioned and asked whether well-organized databases that are structured with good search engines could be enough. Many also saying that standard chain of thought LLM with retrieval augmented generation would suffice. So we thought it would be good to have a discussion with the community to discuss in more detail what Agentic AI is before we dive into the development of a blueprint. So now it takes me onto our guest speakers, and I'd like to introduce our first speaker of the session, Mukesh Kumar, who is the head of data management at A-Star in Singapore, and his talk will trace the evolution of the Gusto Data Vault from the GPT-4 literature review assistant into a multi-agent system. And he will use that journey to explain what Agentic AI means in practice, systems that don't just answer questions, but plan, use tools, and coordinate across specialized components to complete tasks autonomously. So I'm going to stop sharing, Mukesh, and I'll hand over to you.
All right. Thanks, Connie. Sharing my screen now. Can the slides be seen?
Yes,
Yep, all
we
good.
can see them.
All right. Thanks for having me here today. It's really a privilege to be sharing more about agentic AI with this community. I'm going to start off by using Microsoft's Copilot definition here to define the three phases of AI agents. All right, and that will be the basis as to how we're going to go through the rest of the presentation. So we set a definition so we can all follow along, given that there are many definitions that are going around, right? So this is Microsoft's definition of a Copilot. How it says it is in terms of three levels. So level one is a prompt and response agent. Think of it as your chat GPT, right? That has got knowledge base connected to it, and you're actually querying it, right? And returns back a response. And level two is a task agent. Now, this is going beyond just a simple query and answer. It has tools connected to this agent, and that tool can be like, for example, a Python coding environment. It's able to execute a task in this environment and return back the results, right? Think of another task as booking a flight. We see that's a very common example where the agent can actually look at your schedule and the various flights and then go on to actually make the booking for you if you want the agent to do that, right? So that's a task agent. And level three is actually autonomous agent. So here the agents are operating independently and they're able to take the decision fairly autonomous, right? And then again, within level three, there are sub levels as well. Think of levels where the agent actually asks you for permission before you actually go on to make the decision, or the agent autonomously takes the decision and goes on to act on that, right? So these are the three levels that we see how agents will evolve over time. And today we are running through that as an example based on the research platforms that we built here at A-Star. And first is prompt and response agents, right? So these are agents essentially with knowledge base connected. So think of them as your virtual assistants or your customer service chatbots. You have your company's knowledge base which is connected to this agent, and it takes a agentic RAG approach, where it looks up the knowledge base and returns an answer to you, right? So here's where I'm going to present the Gusto Data Vault AI, where it's connected to the Gusto publications as a knowledge base and how it actually facilitates the researchers in getting more answers that are tailored to Gusto. Next are task agents, right? So these agents are actually able to perform tasks. So one example here that we're going to show here is using AI for analytics. Now, given a data set and a Python execution environment, the AI can actually execute the analytics and return back the results to the user here. So that'll be the example that we're showing. And again, this could be used in decision-making scenarios or even personalized user experiences they can design them for. And the last level, which I believe will be the future that most of the agents will try to move towards, is autonomous agents, where there are multiple agents working on separate tasks, and collectively they are operating in a structure where they can collaborate and coordinate with each other, and at the end achieve an outcome, right? So think of your business operation. You have your HR, you have your finance, and you have your engineers. Now you dedicate an agent to perform each of these tasks, and you need to orchestrate them in an agentic architecture, and collectively they deliver the outcome for the company, right? So this, in our case, we are using an intelligence research report example where the agent is looking real time in the PubMed outputs and able to condense this information for you and generate daily reports. And there are sub agents that are also designed. Right. So next, I'm going to go into the actual use cases. We're going to start off with the Gusto AI, which is level one, right? A prompt and response agent. I'm going to play a video which runs you through the user experience of Gusto AI, right? So we start off by asking for summary on adolescent research. It looks up the metadata, searches for the results, and returns back a condensed summary of adolescent research in the Gusto cohort. You can see that it also includes the relevant citations of this paper, right? So this is one example where it looks up a knowledge base and returns a condensed summary for the user. You can imagine without this, the user will have to manually comb through, say, 5, 10, or even 100 papers and put this information together, which could take weeks or even months at time. Next up, we go into level two, which is a task agent. So here, the background is the agent has been given a research data set. It's actually an adolescent data set, and we are asking the agent to run analytics on the data set. Think of your regressions and your summary statistics. Okay, so here we want it to describe the variables in the data set, and it goes on to look at the data set and returns to you the categories of data and variables, right? And you then ask, it can support with further analysis as well, right? Now we want it to do some comparison and plot a chart to describe this. So it summarizes the variable, its observations, and it gives you a bar plot, right? Describing this. And now we want it to run a regression analysis based on the data. It's going to run a regression analysis and return back to you the R squared value as well as the P value. And it interprets for you as well. Is this significant or not? And what is the interpretation of this? Right now, we're going to adding another variable here. Returns R squared value, says not significant, and interprets this. Right. So you can see this is essentially an analyst that is in play here. And this agent has been connected to a data set, actually helping you to analyze the data, right? Now we go to level three. So level three essentially is a level three autonomous agent where it's looking up real time in your PubMed results. And the intention is for this agent to look at this over a certain defined period. In this case, it's 30 days. And it's going to return back to you the top papers that are in this area of research. We can customize the agent to change the area of research topic, right? And what this agent does is it looks up and there's an agentic architecture, which I'll briefly describe how it works. and it returns back a daily generated report on its own without the user prompting it. So this is a demo, a quick demo of this one, right? So this is over the last 30 days. It's returning back the latest papers in this field, right? It has the relevant PubMed links listed, and it does a thematic analysis. It condenses now what are the thematic areas that are coming up for the last 30 days as trending topics, right? And we've asked it to give accelerating topics as well as decelerating topics. What are the gaps where there could be more interest or further research, and also critique the findings. So we know that AI is not perfect, so it actually critiques what it's giving up, and it can bring you to the link itself to find out more information. So this is the intelligence report that is generated on a daily basis autonomously, and the AI has access to the API links and is doing it on its own. Right. So overall, this is the architecture. So level three, how this works is imagine you have a manager agent which actually fetches all these papers over the 30 days. And it's got a team member, right? A team member setup where there's a thematic analysis agent, a research trend agent, and a report critic agent. Now, each of these sub-agents perform a certain task. As you can see on the right, the thematic agent actually looks through the paper and condenses the overall themes that are coming out of it. And then there's a research trend agent. It looks at whether these are areas of accelerating interest, what are the gaps in the current research landscape. And lastly, there's a critic, right, that actually looks at this paper and critiques all these papers for consistency and evidence. And all of these agents are set up in a group consultation session. So in a way that this architecture is not a sequential agentic design where one agent passes information to the second and then to the third. Rather, all three are operating in a group chat orchestration. So that's where you can see the conversations accumulate and eventually they will produce a trend report together. So that is the design behind that level three agent that we just showed you. All right, and the roadmap, how we see this coming, and very nicely alluding to the open report, where it highlighted the librarian, the data director, and the funding finder. This is how we see this all coming together in that whole entire agentic AI architecture. So we have the literature librarian that is connected to PubMed, Archive, and various APIs, right? It's generating this real time every day. At the same time, there's a funding finder that's connected to funding sites and portals, and they help you to identify where are potential funds for these hot areas of research, right? And that could guide you in terms of your grant applications as well. And once you are already identified the area of research, you actually go on to the data director where it's able to run the analytics, like what you saw earlier, when it's got access to the research database in the network. And what happens from this network is that you have knowledge bases that are being created, which can then be pumped back to the librarian as another knowledge base. In addition to the publications, it's now got working knowledge base of analytics that it can use to better inform the researcher in this whole loop that's being built. Yeah, so that's the whole enterprise setup that we are working towards. And yeah, I think I'm just in time, 10 minutes. Let me know if there are any questions. Thanks.
You are just in time. Thank you, Mukesh. I'm always fascinated to see the work that you're doing, and it's really interesting to see your future roadmap too. If you have any questions for Mukesh, please put them in the chat, and we'll come back to those for the Q&A. So I'm now going to introduce our next speaker. So hopefully you can see my slides again now. So Amir, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Amir Ariani is the head of the Augmented Intelligence Group at Swinburne University of Technology in Australia. His talk will explore the Research Link AI platform, which actually changes how researchers engage with academic literature using voice-enabled AI agents that can read and synthesize entire works. So it breaks down how multiple AI components work together behind the scenes, from content synthesis to AI-generated video, to transform how research is found, consumed, and shared. So another really interesting and exciting project. Amir, I will hand over to you now. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. Let me share my screen. Um, all should be good now. Okay, you should be able to see my screen. So I am going to just pick up what Mukesh said and just continue this to more applications. So I think the way I was planning that is Mukesh already described what the agentic AI model is and different workflows. We are going to look at some of these things in some actions, and also I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about almost AI transitions, walk into the history of AI in the last 2 years, what happened from 2024 until now, which interesting enough in the world of AI, it's quite a long time. So we had a transition to significant structures from going from chatbots that we basically got used to them in the early 2024 to the pipelines and automations and the concept of agentic AI. But we can think about them in three different acts. Basically, the first kind of transition was we got the capability of producing images, videos, and sound. And the second kind of act on this conversation was changing the concept of AI to the two classification, the small model and the large models. And I'll get to those later on, some of the example of these. And the final thing was the transition to the agentic AI conversation, which really changed the function of AI rather than what we call different thinker or talkers to the actual doers. So it started to making difference in our environment. So just a glimpse of the kind of releases that we got from 2024-25 in that kind of 12 months window. We had a Gemini 1.5. It's hard to believe that was almost 2 years ago. We probably everyone got surprised to see the first AI generated videos by OpenAI Sora. Some of you might have seen these things on the videos and kind of media channels at that time. This is way before we see the AI generated videos everywhere in Instagrams and any social media. That was very early days. Then we get the open source models like Llama 3. We had the Apple Intelligence for the first time on our iPhone. We got a new version of Siri, which is supposed to be thinking much more smarter. And then we had the mini models. So in the 2025, we get to the concept of agentic AI, and still it was a tool or if like a toy for a techie people to do things with it. A lot has changed, but it's hard to believe that this introduction happens about 12 months ago. We got the GPT-5 and some other models like GPT 2.5 that was very, very good in following the instruction to do complex tasks. That opened the door for something that we call tool calling. And these days, we see the emergence of concept that called AI skills, where the AI followed a very, very set of complex tasks, run almost a half an hour worth of computation on a machine to call different things and run a pipeline. Also, at those days, we heard about the terms like DeepSeek R1 and other open source models. There was a lot of conversation about the role of the open source models in the sector. And then we got much more mainstream models. So this, as I mentioned, AI take us from the text box or chat box to just doing things all together. I thought the best way to do this, to demonstrate this, is that we actually wrote an article about this on LinkedIn, and then we use Agentic AI pipeline to produce a complete video out of the article. So I thought the best demonstration of what it can do is I look at the final product. So this is completely done and generated, all the voice, all the visualization, everything using AI.
Augment SME presents. In just 2 years, artificial intelligence went from answering simple questions to becoming something far more powerful. This is the story of a remarkable transformation. First, AI gained new senses. It learned to see images, understand speech, and even create video from imagination. The digital world suddenly became vivid and alive. Then it evolved two distinct minds, one fast and efficient for everyday tasks, the other a deep thinker, capable of solving complex problems with remarkable precision. Finally, AI took the biggest leap of all. It stopped just answering and started doing, browsing the web, completing tasks, and working alongside us as a true digital partner. Behind it all, a global race to build faster, more powerful computing, fueling innovation at an unprecedented scale. Across 2 remarkable years, dozens of breakthroughs reshaped what artificial intelligence can do. From new models to powerful chips, the pace of change has been extraordinary. From chatbot to coworker, the AI era is here, and it's just getting started.
Okay, so I think already Santosh on the chat box asked what was the input and what was the tools. So the input to this is an article written and is on LinkedIn. And then there is a series of tools, tool calling that basically you can think about them as a series of Python codes, all written by the Claude Opus, and then the Python libraries, and then audio libraries are all used to pull everything together. But we didn't write a single line of code by hand, so everything does through the AI pipeline. And this is part of a new platform we are working on that's called Research Link, that tries to kind of look for the automation processes to take the research to transition and research impact. I will show you the API interface of this system later on, but we are trying to actually make a research more and more mainstream. Now, following this, we had a similar conversation yesterday. I want to pick some of those materials and kind of repeat them here, going with more in details. So apology for some of you have been in the session before yesterday. Some of this might be kind of repeating the same concept. We have, by the way, before I move on, we have these slides shared, I believe, Connie, later on, and the links on the QR codes are there, so you can access the materials later. So one of the problems that a lot of researchers have is that we have the problem for dark data. So there's a lot of data sets we produce that no one uses them, and there's a lot of data sets we want to use them and we cannot find them. And now these days with these tools, we have the capability to iterate through the repositories, run using the actual generative AI chatbots and APIs behind them to search for data sets. Those significantly help with the data discovery. As I mentioned, like, there was a long conversation yesterday on this one, so it's probably a recording of that available through the RDA. But some of the example of that is, just getting right to the main point of this, to demonstrate this, I was looking for a data set, particularly not through the persistent environment, so persistent identifier environments, rather through the normal chatbots. So looking for a data set that we published back in 2014-15 that called Research Data Switchboard, and Gemini finds it. And all the DOIs, everything else that it finds are correct. We have done this, I've done a similar search with GPT, but this time I didn't mention even the name of a data set. I said, just find me a data set which is about the research data interoperability across data repositories, and this is published by Nature. So Nature is a publisher, but that journal was Scientific Data, so I even did not mention the Scientific Data journal. And it finds exactly the right data collection here. I just need to mention that this is important. I come to the conversation yesterday. This is a data set that is well curated and it has a big data descriptor paper attached to it, and that's one of the reasons that makes it highly discoverable in that interface. But what it means is that for a lot of us now, discovery of a data is easier. We have the Agentic AI or AI automation tools on hand that provide us opportunity to make a lot of the complex tasks that we couldn't do that before much easier, cheaper, and more accessible. So one of these processes that for some of us who are in the discovery part of the research is finding the related items. And as I mentioned, in that Research Link ecosystem, following a lot of contribution and investment by Australian Research Data Common, ARDC, or thanks to our colleagues at ARDC for all the supporting in the sector in Australia, we have built platforms that look and crawl this graph database around the research ecosystem. And similar to these functions, in the old days, we have to know what is individual DOI for a data set, what is individual ROR or ORCID for a individual organization or researchers. Now, a lot of those things can be automated. We are also in the process of releasing some of these platforms that we have as open source code. So we have now a kind of a beta system in process that you can explore. Basically, there's an interface around a api.researchgraph.ai. So this is kind of a API interface of this system. You can search for an organization, like to say, find me records for Australian National. Oh my God. Australian National University. It's basically, it's almost behind the scene. This is not the GPT. What it does is that it gets that query, convert that to the graph query, and in the PED ecosystem find related identifiers. I'd find two variations of this in ORCID and one DOI from Crossref. You can find the actual researchers in the same way. So you can just say find, I can just say type my family name, and it would find different researcher records for me. So it even uses the LLMs to find out, is this the person, is it the organization? And from that, it picks up that, okay, this is a person, and I'm going to find out ORCID. And then we built the tools underneath that you can actually visualize the connected graph underneath. So the vision around these things is that this to be a framework that then later on we can build a lots of other research ecosystem discovery tools top of that, or the community kind of built top of this ecosystem. This is another option. So in addition to those materials, if you're also interested to access this, the way that it works by your email, especially for our colleagues in Australia. The approval process is very quick. But if you're not still from Australia, you can go to the, I can probably log out here, so take you to the homepage. So you can go to the api.researchlink.ai, and you basically type your email address, it sends you the code, and then you fill up a small form, and then they approve that, and then you access the system. And as I mentioned, better systems, so try to be gentle with this one. We don't guarantee that it always works. So this is basically the effort that we are putting toward these things. So kind of connected dots from different angles, if that makes sense. But there's a lot of possibility now in 2026, kind of opens up to the, if you like, people behind the data infrastructures that it wasn't possible back in 2024. Okay, so on that note, I think I might be slightly even over time. Connie,
That's
back to you
fine.
then. Thank
Amir,
you.
thank you so much. So, please do ask any questions or think of some questions. We do have one in the chat now.